Spice College Lacrosse, a part of the ACC on ESPN. And what a treat we have for you today. Two of the blue bloods in this sport, Joe Breschi and Lars Tiffany, know each other really well. It's their fifth meeting of the last 2 seasons and a rematch of the national semifinal from last year where Virginia was on the way to a national championship. Second meeting this season as the Cavs play host to the Tar Heels on a chilly day in Charlottesville. What's happening, everyone? Happy Saturday. Thanks for spending some of it with us. Paul Carcaterra, Drew Carter on hand. And Carc, this is going to be a lot of fun today.
Look, Drew, for my money, the last couple of years, this has been the most exciting matchup in college lacrosse because of the pace of play. But you also have to think right now, I think Virginia is sitting pretty in terms of the NCAA tournament in May. Carolina lacking that signature win with only 4 weeks left. Time is now.
It's April. It's bracketology season in lacrosse. Both these teams trying to bounce back. Virginia just lost to Richmond for the first time ever, and a big reason why is they lost Matt Moore.
Well, Matt Moore is one half of that 2-quarterback system for Virginia with Connor Schellenberger. It's their secret sauce. It's what makes them go. He has that lower body injury right now. He's a no-go today, but Virginia has options. Xander Dixon was an elite attackman in high school at the Brunswick School in Greenwich, Connecticut. He played behind the cage, but what I'm so impressed with him this year, his shooting and his off-ball play. He's evolving into an elite offensive player. They can put him behind, but they also could put Griffin Schutz. You want to talk about high-level recruits. The #1 rated recruit in all of high school lacrosse a season ago. He's 6'3", he's 220 pounds. He, like Dixon, was an attackman in high school. He can own goal line extended with his physicality and his big playability, but he's also skilled for a big dude.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 220. Xander Dixon is 6'1", 160. They call him the Slim Reaper. Dichotomy of body styles. Virginia's going to mix and match it to make up for with what they lose without Matt Moore today. As for Carolina, those two guys are going to be shooting on one of the best goalies in America.
He's terrific. His stats say 51% in terms of his save percentage. He's the best 51% save percentage goalie in all of college lacrosse. Elite top hand speed. He's a lefty goalie, so he can play some tricks on big-time shooters. But what I love about Krieg is his demeanor. He's always in control. You never see him rattle. You never see his shoulders slumping. He's the ultimate competitor in terms of a goalie. Watch him today. He's fantastic.
Colin Krieg averages 13 saves a game, tied for tops in the ACC. We are locked and loaded and ready to go at Kastner Stadium. It's about 55 degrees, a little wind. We told you Matt Moore's not playing. Petey LaSalla is. That's a big story.
He got rocked last week after a shot against Richmond in the first half. He was in a sling after the game. His status was unknown. He's out there. The ultimate warrior, Petey LaSalla.
He's one of the best face-off guys in the country, but they lose the first one against Zach Tucci, and Carolina's going to start with it, but they have to deal with that UVA ride, which has become a trademark over the last couple of years.
Something to watch with LaSalla in this matchup, Drew. His top hand speed will be there, but if he has to grind out a face-off and use his upper body strength with that injury, it could be a concern.
Carolina coming off a loss to Duke where they got blasted. It was 10-1 in the third quarter. 7 goals for O'Neal of the Blue Devils. Cavs, meanwhile, lost to Richmond 17-13 on Saturday in the cobweb, as they call it in Richmond. Carolina with Jacob Kelly, the first shot sails high, backed up.
The big matchup here, Cole Kastner, 39 in white, Chris Gray, 4 in blue. This is a big-time matchup of 2 players who will be first-team All-Americans, if you ask me.
I think we just did the first open without mentioning Chris Gray of all time for Carolina. Chance for the Tar Heels is wide from Harrison Schertzinger, one of the Schertzinger twins on the midfield. 22 to shoot for the Heels. Chris Gray is on pace to become the all-time leading scorer in NCAA D1 history. Enters today with over 380 points for his career. Heels got to go. This is Cole Herbert. Double team. 5. Chris Gray feeds in front. Bouncer is wide. And that'll do it for the first possession for Carolina.
Shot clock violation. We talk about Virginia's ride. Matt Wright, a long stick midfielder for North Carolina, was the man in the middle. He's out with an injury today. Critical in terms of their success when they ride. So not having Matt Wright You lose him in the ride, but you also lose him as a shutdown defender, because last time these two teams played, he guarded Connor Schellenberger. Schellenberger got his points, but Matt Wright did a nice job in terms of the one-on-one matchup.
This is Connor Schellenberger, number 1. Most outstanding player in the tournament last year. Sets up a great look for Dixon. It was saved on the initial attempt and put back home on the rebound.
You're going to see,
Cormier.
yeah, you're going to see a lot of rebounds in a game like this, and the last guy that you want picking up the trash is 24 in white, Peyton Cormier, because of the soft hands, the Canadian box background. He will gobble up that loose ball in a fraction of a second, put himself in a position to get in front of the cage, and Krieg has no shot. You know, you look at this matchup too. One of the reasons we featured Krieg is because of his experience playing this high-octane offense of Virginia. He stepped up last year. He was incredible playing against the Cavaliers and shutting the door. He's going to see a ton of shots. For Virginia to be slowed down, it all comes down to Krieg, because defensively, they've struggled in terms of their team defense, consistency-wise. You mentioned the Duke game a week ago. They got torched in that first half. So much pressure is on Krieg.
66% of the opponent's shots are on goal for Carolina. This guy takes a beating between the pipes, but he loves it. Joe Breschi says he always wants more shots in practice. What a dodge from Peter Garno, one of those guys who's going to fill the void left by Moore. Schellenberger with it now with 45 to shoot. Garno, 33, the junior out of Pennsylvania. Good defense for Carolina. It's kept by UVA and Jeff Connor. There's Cormier again, and Krieg stands tall.
Carolina's in a zone right there, and there was a little bit of a miscommunication, leaving Cormier on that left side.
That's playing with fire.
Yeah, playing with fire and hanging Krieg out to dry. So we'll see how often Carolina mixes it up in terms of their zone to man approach.
Do you think that has something to do with Wright not being there?
I do, because right now you have a lot of new faces. You know, you have Evan Egan back in the lineup. He hasn't played much. He's guarding Schellenberger. This is like his first real game action. He's been injured and nicked up, and to play the best player in the country, right. You want to take some pressure off that one-on-one matchup. You do it with a zone.
This is Lance Tillman, who Breschi has raved about in practice. It was a shot clock violation for Carolina on their first possession.
Without Lance Tillman a year ago, Carolina doesn't go to the Final Four. He was unreal against Rutgers in the quarterfinal game at Hofstra. They put him in that lineup. They needed another Dodger outside of Chris Gray. He was the answer. And that's been the big question for Carolina. Who can support Gray in terms of dodging, creating offense?
Great look in front. UVA couldn't handle it. Noah Chismar, the freshman, 34, was right on the doorstep. And it's Carolina ball. A crease violation against the Cavaliers. Harrison Schertzinger, 5 in Carolina blue, gives it to his bro, Henry. We talked with Breschi about that this week, Kark. Who can step up after Gray? Because the guy is Atlas right now. He's carrying the offense.
Yes, and I think Lance Tillman is a great compliment to Chris Gray. Putting him at attack is a smart move.
There is Gray, right on cue. Top shelf, Chris Gray opens the scoring for Carolina.
What makes Chris Gray so special is the same thing that makes Connor Schellenberger so special. Equally effective with his right and his left hand. So when he approaches a defense and he has the two-man pick game working, he can actually feel where that pressure is kind of hedging towards, and he can go the opposite side. So Gray is a fantastic righty shooter and lefty, and he just needs that little seam. He's not the type of guy that is going to pull it out on the end line and beat you with speed dodges. But when he comes off of a pick or quick ball rotation, he's a fantastic dodger.
Look out, here comes Zach Tucci for Carolina. Bull in a china shop, and it's picked up by the true freshman goalie, Matthew Nunes. Tucci's banged up as Carolina on the ride. It is going to be Heel's ball. There's Tucci, you see hobbling off the field. Zach Tucci's an athlete.
He is.
He tried to take that one coast to coast, basically.
He's limping right now, but they have the luxury of two guys, right? They can put Andrew Tyre in there as well, who's seen a ton of action in the past. You know, Virginia has Petey LaSalla. They have Gabe Braun. So they have two guys too, but they've shared it a lot more in terms of the overall face-off load and duties at Carolina.
Lance Tillman on the dodge from X. Right back to the crease, and Nunes is there. This freshman goalie is pretty good.
Oof. Yes. I mean, you're filling in for Alex Rode, who won 2 national titles, and you're asking a freshman to do it. Now, he's been terrific all season long. He was a top-rated goalie in high school lacrosse, but you still have the questions, right? That's a big ask to put a freshman in there. He's from Houston, Texas. In all due respect for Texas high school lacrosse, this isn't Houston, Texas high school lacrosse. But it just shows you his athleticism, but more importantly, his focus.
Carolina coming the other way quickly. Gray, Nunes stands tall again. His 3rd save.
Looked like Gray was running out of real estate. I'm gonna be honest, Drew, right there, I think he wants to go behind the back, right? He's losing the angle. It's hard for him to switch to his left hand because that's where the defender's stick is. That's a good time to go BTB.
He's got the hands for it.
Yeah, and he's got that in his bag of tricks too. We've seen Chris Gray throw a ton of behind the backs.
He just scored his 193rd career goal to put Carolina on the board. His 383rd career point. If he stays healthy, he's going to break Lyle Thompson's record.
Lyle Thompson, 2-time Tewaaraton winner, 2013 and 2014. One of the best players in college lacrosse history. He's on my Mount Rushmore along with Mikey Powell, Gary Gate, and Dave Petromalis, the greatest ever to play college lacrosse.
A guy who might get there one day, Connor Schellenberger.
Only a sophomore. That's the crazy thing about it, right? The best player in college lacrosse. We're talking about Chris Gray and Connor Schellenberger, the 2 best guys in college lacrosse. If the season ended right now, the Tewaaraton, I think, goes to Connor Schellenberger. He's a sophomore.
Right.
He's a sophomore.
He was the most outstanding player as a freshman last year in the tournament.
It's 74 points, and he played a good portion of the season as a midfielder. Just nuts.
Carolina back to work offensively. Only 6 goals last Saturday against Duke. Their lowest in a game since 2018.
You know, I like the move with Lance Tillman, 0 and blue, from midfield to attack because it gives you that other dodging threat, but I think it's going to open up the perimeter a little bit for these midfielders who, quite frankly, just haven't gotten it going in 2022. Cole Herbert's the only double-digit goal scorer in that midfield. The only guy over 6 goals on the season. And they're filling in for a unit a year ago with Justin Anderson and Will Perry. These are guys that played for 5 seasons with the COVID year. So you go from the most experienced midfield in the country to the least experienced.
And it's about the consistency for Joe Breschi. There's Chris Gray, a 1-man offense. He buries his 2nd today.
He's a magician. Keep in mind, folks, he is a right-handed lacrosse player. Both his goals with the left hand. You want options? Give it to 4 and blue. He will make it rain. Tar Heels up by 1.
In the wilderness, Fearless and human. Sauvage. The new elixir. Dior.
Find your happiness in San Diego.
The premier lacrosse league's really game-changing.
Historic day for the sport of lacrosse.
We are set up for arguably the greatest season of professional lacrosse history.
Well, you watch the PLL, pretty soon you're going to see that guy, Chris Gray, maybe the #1 pick in the upcoming draft. What do you think, Kark?
For my money, he is. I mean, he's just made for the PLL too because of the quick action and the pace of play, a lot of transition. I just think he can feast in that league. You put him around other playmakers as well. I have him at 1. My big mover is Arden Cohn. He was ranked 14th in my first version, all the way up to 4 because I think he's proven himself to be a lockdown defender. This is a big board. This is a mock draft, so this is best available in terms of the players. But this is a huge class, too. I think offensively it's so heavy on the attack. But when you watch the PLL, Drew, a lot of attackmen can move to midfield because a lot of the offensive midfielders, typically, they can play in that sub game and they can stay on the half-field offense and not have those defensive responsibilities. So you'll see some of these guys who are elite attackmen move to the midfield when they go to the pro ranks.
Virginia with another quick turnover. That's 5 on the Who's already. As Carolina has a 1-goal lead. It's Chris Gray 2, Virginia 1.
Yeah, you know what Carolina's doing, which is really smart. They're using the pick game for Chris Gray. In the first matchup, Cole Kastner was really good against Gray in space.
That's an offsides against Krieg, who brought it out to midfield. And there is Zach Tucci, who tried to go one on everyone after winning the last faceoff and got cracked near the goal. He was getting looked at on the Carolina sideline, and he's still a little wobbly. So expect Andrew Tyre at the X for UNC.
Yeah, Tucci can't even run right now. We're watching him attempt to get it going on the sideline.
Time and room on the shot from Garneau. It'll stay here with UVA.
If you watch Krieg too, there's no jumpiness to his game. Like he sits on a shot and his reaction is incredible.
He's built like a goalie mentally.
Yeah, and even when he lets up a goal, he's on it. Do you know what I mean? Like he never clearly gets beat. Like he's on every shot.
Garneau again. It's a kick save and a beauty from Krieg. Welcome everyone here on ESPNU at Klockner Stadium. Virginia hosting Carolina. Chris Gray has both goals for the Tar Heels. They lead 2-1. I'm Drew Carter alongside Paul Carcaterra. Pleasure to have you along with us for this dandy of an ACC lacrosse game. That was Griffin Schutz, the freshman, starting on attack. Here is Schellenberger, the quarterback. What a feed in front. Krieg stands tall again, denied Peyton Cormier.
You see the timing, though, of Schellenberger and Peyton Cormier? Like, Cormier was still behind the pick when Schellenberger anticipated that pass. That's what makes him such an incredible quarterback, too. It's the sixth sense to feel where his teammates will be before they actually are there.
Jacob Kelly airmails the pass. That's 4 giveaways for Carolina, 5 for UVA. And Schellenberger's doing it without the other quarterback today, Matt Moore, who's out with an injury he suffered last Saturday at Richmond.
What we talked about in the open, they have options with guys like Xander Dixon and Griffin Schutz, both former attackmen, so they can put them behind the cage. And it's a nice change of pace, right? You have Schutz 26 and white, who's just a Mack truck, and Dixon light on his feet and really good in terms of his pass game. There's
Schellenberger, takes the bouncer. It's backed up by Patrick McIntosh. There is Matt Moore, lower body injury. Suffered Saturday in their first loss ever to Richmond. Snapped a 73-game winning streak against other teams from the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yeah, he's going to be such a good pro. I have him at number 2. And I mentioned earlier, too, those attackmen that could play midfield. I mean, he's the poster child for that because he's played midfield as well. So you get versatility if you draft Matt Moore. You can plug him anywhere on that offense.
Great look out of the stick of Will Corey, and Krieg is there again.
Oof, that was close. What a hustle, though.
There's Schutz, the top freshman in the country, wins the race. They've got 10 to shoot. Check by Sean Morris. Schutz has to go. That's a shot clock violation against Carolina, or against Virginia.
Here's the ride, and we talk about Moore too, and him not being in the lineup in terms of what he does offensively. He's also one of the best riders in the country, right? He makes it really difficult for the defense to clear the ball because of his athleticism, but also it's become the norm. This has become the norm at Virginia, right? Like riding back, making it so difficult for opposing teams to clear the ball and get in their offensive zone. It's part of their DNA right now. It's expected. Like if you want to play offense at Virginia, you better know how to ride.
And Coach Lars Tiffany was telling us that Matt Moore was one of those guys in 2019 when they sort of unveiled that new look ride, and he's the only one still around.
Yeah. Ian Laviano, Michael Kraus. That was the starting attack in 2019 when they won it all.
What a look. Garno missed it wide. Schellenberger on the backup.
I'm watching Garno, 33 and white. All of his misses are bounce shots wide. And he's a guy that I've seen in the past that can keep it high and really haunt the goalie. I want to see him unleash it and not use the earth right now because in terms of his technique, he's really pulling it and shooting wide.
Jeff Connor, what a setup. I can't believe they didn't score that time. It was off the pipe. Best friend of Colin Krieg, who's been masterful today.
I like what Dave Metzbauer, who has 7 national championships, 7 rings, 6 at Princeton, 1 with North Carolina as offensive coordinator. In terms of the way that he finds opportunities for his stars, and Chris Gray against Cole Kastner, that's a big-time matchup, but he's not going to expect or ask Gray to beat Kastner in space. He's using the pick game, and the pick game will just give Gray that little rub he needs to separate. If you watch Gray, he can shoot off a pick as well as anyone.
What a save. Matthew Nunes denies Cole Herbert. Virginia gave it away with 7 to play in this first quarter. Cavs have it, but they've got to go. That's all she wrote on the opening 15. Just like we all expected, only 3 combined goals in the first quarter. Cavs missed their last 9 shots against Colin Krieg, and Carolina leads by 1 as we take you to the second quarter.
Was there something missing in my life till now? An absence I could not quite place but knew somehow. And then this vegan bakery came sliding down my screen. And Everdome repaired and tightened up my seams. Voila, my cherudi, remix French dip and squid cuisine. Endless lit, infinite possibilities. I'm down. A world where personalized ads help good ideas get found.
In the wilderness, fearless and human, Sauvage, the new elixir, Dior.
Old Spice College Lacrosse is brought to you by Old Spice. Smell ready for anything. And Progressive Insurance. Bundle and protect today under one roof. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
In Carolina has been the last couple of years. 5 meetings the past 2 seasons. 1 already this year in Chapel Hill. You were there, Kark.
Yeah, last year was epic. This year did not disappoint. It was an unbelievable game for 3 quarters. And then Virginia just separated themselves with Schellenberger, who took over in that second half, feeding, dodging, and absolutely dominating that matchup. Virginia, from a depth perspective, just a little bit too much for the Heels. They have too many options.
The Hoos have now won 3 in a row over the Tar Heels, including championship weekend last year, another instant classic.
Yeah, and last year, the first regular season game that Carolina won, I did that game. Chris Gray was unbelievable. Human highlight reel. I want to take a really tight, close look at Petey LaSalla here. I think from a speed perspective, he's okay with the upper body injury, but if he has to tie up and he has to scrum and fight through that face-off, that's what I'm concerned if I'm a Virginia fan. So when you look at LaSalla, he's such a warrior, such battle-tested in terms of his overall pedigree, and he's playing hurt today.
Battling with Andrew Tyre of Carolina with Zach Tucci a little banged up, and LaSalla comes away with it. LaSalla wins over 60% of his face-offs this year, best in the ACC, but he is nicked up today.
Yeah, and he's been a nightmare for Joe Breschi and Carolina. You look what he's done these last few seasons against the Heels. He's separated himself. You know, had that game against Maryland, in terms of just not being able to get his groove, his typical Petey LaSalla groove. And, you know, you give Maryland 15 extra possessions in that game. Virginia scored 12 goals still. And when they're healthy and they're ready, you know, everyone's talking about Maryland in terms of separating themselves, and they have in the regular season. But seeing Virginia in May, because of what they've been able to accomplish these last few years, they have the confidence to get it rolling.
Xander Dixon can't believe he didn't get the backup on that shot from Cormier.
Closest to the ball when it goes out of bounds, and he looked like he was asking the ref, how is that possible?
Here comes Carolina. Antonio DeMarco had it knocked out. There's Cole Kastner with that 6-7 frame. Here it comes the other way.
That's what he does so well. Outside of being a shutdown defender, Cole Kastner roams the middle of the field and makes it so difficult for the opposing team to clear the ball. A lot like Matt Wright, but he just has more length, right? Like, and he sneaks up on you too, because you think like, okay, this guy's far away, but his strides are massive.
He forces almost 3 turnovers a game, 3rd in the nation, best in the ACC. There's Griffin Schutz. He is a Mack truck, rings it off the pipe. And here comes Carolina, look out. Dominic Pryor. Numbers for the Heels, saved by Nunes.
Talk about backup right there, Lance Tillman, right on the end line. Alex Breschi with a shot. Alex Breschi, a short stick defensive midfielder. That name's familiar because he's the nephew of Joe Breschi, the head coach. I had a chance to talk to Alex. He'll be a person on the future relaxing segment coming up in the next couple weeks. What a guy. 88 in blue. I mean, he's awesome. He's exactly what you want in a teammate.
And the Heels cough it up again. That's 7 turnovers for UNC. UVA tries to clear. They cleared around 86% of the time this year. That was a heck of a tease, by the way, for relaxing.
Yeah, I don't want to give it all away, but we talk about family quite a bit. You'll see Alex, 88, running around. He's got the mullet in the back. His dad, Chuck, played at Carolina in the early 90s. Same hairstyle, 30 years ago.
That's right. Still in style.
Yes.
And Joe told us a great story about when the COVID eligibility came out.
Yeah.
Chuck called him. It wasn't Alex. Chuck made the decision. He's coming back for year 5.
He'll be back for year 5. Sophomore eligibility right now. But Chuck, who I've been in touch with too, man, if you're a parent of a college lacrosse player, this ride's just as special, right?
Absolutely. Time and room and a bullseye for Evan Zinn. We're tied at 2.
Evan Zinn is an interesting player, Drew, for Virginia because he's a transfer from Johns Hopkins where he played a lot of offense. But his speed is ridiculous. And when he plays short stick defensive midfield, when he clears the ball, they're okay with him staying. And Lars Tiffany told us this week, they want their short sticks to stay because guys like Evan Zinn with all the offensive background, when he brings it over to the other side, he's going to be going against an offensive midfielder that he caught from North Carolina who has to match up against him, and they like those matchups.
Kark, even without Matt Moore, I mean, they're just a nightmare to try to defend. They've got so many options.
They do, and they have so many players. That's what you want to see with Petey.
He's a running back,
yes,
man.
to see if he can take those hits. We talked to Petey's dad before the game, Pete Sr. Pete Sr., retired New York City cop. He reps 315 4 times, and he says Petey kind of just passed him by when he was a junior in high school. Petey squats 600. He's lifting well into the 300s in terms of his bench. So when a guy like that gets injured with his upper body, that extra muscle, right? He can take that extra little pounding. You don't want him doing it. When you watch the tape and you see him get hurt against Richmond a week ago, it's a little concerning because he's going into the mouth of the defense, right? He's taking those hits.
Rotate!
Schellenberger with the setup, Schutz with the shot. Schellenberger has the backup. Yeah, we saw Pete Sr. before the game. He's repping 315 and he has gray hair. That's not right.
He's jacked. He's in great shape. What do you think you're going to be repping when you're retired?
If it's triple digits, I'll be happy with that. 15 to shoot. Dixon is denied. Colin Krieg with another save. That's 5 today.
That's the patience of Colin Krieg. So Dixon comes around, goal line extended. We're going to see this replay here on the left side of your screen. Comes around, goal line extended. And Krieg just stands his ground, right? Plays the pipes, doesn't cheat and get off it. I thought Dixon, I've watched Dixon a lot around goal line extended. I'm surprised he didn't go low there. When you watch him on tape, he goes low there oftentimes.
There's Chris Gray, who scored both goals for Carolina. Virginia just snapped a scoring drought of 14-30. It's been a while for the Heels, too. Here's Tillman. He gets whacked. Somehow keeps it in his cross. Gray. What a save. Matthew Nunes right in front of it.
That's the look Carolina wants, right? You start an initiation with Tillman, and you find Gray on the backside with a step down. Normally, he's money there.
Schellenberger on the run. We've got dueling goalies today with Colin Krieg.
If you're in the ACC, you're staring at Colin Krieg, a sophomore, Matthew Nunes, a freshman. They're not going anywhere.
Everyone's thinking, we just got rid of Rode. He was a 4-year starter. Now they got the same thing with a freshman starting again.
Both these guys, their top hand speed is ridiculous, right? You see Krieg there just gobble it up. And I talked about earlier, there's no wasted energy when you watch Colin Krieg in the cage.
It's not what you expect when Carolina and Virginia meet, a defensive struggle. Henry Schertzinger on the swim and the shot. We got a timeout, Virginia. We're deadlocked at 2 midway through the second quarter. Both goalies standing on their heads. We'll have some goals at some point today, we promise.
Nice suits. You guys blend right in.
The world needs you back.
I'm retired, Greg. You know this.
People are taking financial advice from memes.
I'll get my onesies.
E-Trade, now from Morgan Stanley.
Who are you starting with? Package.
Stadium in Charlottesville, Colin Krieg has been sterling between the pipes for Carolina. So is his counterpart, Matthew Nunes. 6 saves apiece. We're tied at 2 midway through the second quarter out of a UVA timeout.
When you think of both of these teams, you think of offense, right? But today, the goalies have been incredible. The freshman Nunes out of Houston, Texas, top-rated goalie in high school lacrosse a year ago. Colin Krieg, well, he's battle-tested. He played in the ACC as a starter as a freshman, so he's seen Virginia. Now this will be his 5th time. And the sharpshooters for the Cavaliers have had to deal with Colin Krieg. And you look at his performances here, too. A year ago, when they played here at Kastner, Krieg saw 60 shots. 60 shots! But he didn't flinch. Carolina got the win.
He loves it. He was probably asking for 61. Joe Breschi tells us that sometimes, wow, what a shot and a goal from Cole Herbert. Carolina back out in front. Herbert's got his first today.
You want to see, obviously, Chris Gray in that attack going, but for this offense to take it to the next step, it's all about the Carolina midfielders, them stepping up, becoming big-time goal scorers. Cole Herbert's the only double-digit goal scorer for Carolina this season. He played as a freshman a season ago, found some valuable minutes in that second midfield, but they need him to be big. And that's good ball movement, good awareness for an athlete who operates in space, this time cashing in tight quarters. The goal line extended shooting awareness as Petey rolls out for another face.
So 3 points for Chris Gray on all 3 Carolina goals. He scored the first 2 and assisted on that one. There's LaSalla again. He just finds it. He's built like a human knot of muscle. Comes out with the rock.
This guy was in a sling a week ago. Hardly could practice all week.
Look at him go. I mean, he is not shy. Taking it from the X to attack. We got a flag on the field.
Tough as nails, Petey. Fan favorite too. They know lacrosse down here in Charlottesville, and they know a winner, and they know a tough guy when they see one. 23 in white is.
Offsides. Technical foul, 30 seconds.
It's offsides on Carolina. 30 seconds. Virginia on the extra man. They have the shooters. If you look statistically, though, this is a unit. Like, offensively, they're so good in the 6-on-6 sets, and Sean Kerwin, their offensive coordinator, is masterful in finding ways to get his stars involved in matchups. They only hit at 30% on the extra man. This is a unit I think potentially could be in the mid-40s.
Schellenberger couldn't handle that pass. Garno scoops it up. 12 on the man up. What an underhand find and rip for Patrick McIntosh. Patty Mack ties it at 3.
This is a catch and release, all in one. As the Cavalier fans see 18 in white with a beautiful left-handed goal with low angle, right? So Colin Krieg's on the pipe. I don't know how he sneaks this by him. It's a catch and release all in one kind of, right? He catches it and dips his stick and finds that near pipe. That is beautiful placement.
That ball had eyes.
is one of those guys, Patrick McIntosh, you'll see extra minutes too, because Matt Moore's not on the extra man. He's typically not on the extra man, 18 and white. So it's an opportunity for a new guy to find a role.
It's a great call, Kirk, and we've seen McIntosh and Zinn both score for Virginia today. Not guys who are often on the scoring column, but without Matt Moore, the Cavs piecing it together. We're tied again at 3. Harrison Schertzinger. Jacob Kelly at X. Nunes out of his crease to assist with the defense. Kelly's got 19 goals on the season. Tried to give it up. Tillman lost it for a second, and it's scooped up by the Cavs. Gray had it though. And now Carolina comes back. No shot clock reset, no change of possession. Here's Chris Gray. Got a point on all 3 goals, scored the first 2, assisted on the last one. His shot is backed up. Harrison Schertzinger. Virginia wins the race.
Yep, that's good awareness by Grayson Soliday, 32 and white. Backs up that shot. You know, that was one where we saw Xander Dixon when we thought off a shot closest to the ball. When it goes out of bounds, gets possession. That one clearly Soliday.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
How good of a venue is this, though, for college lacrosse, right? Got the opposite side. People on the lawn.
The sun's coming out, too.
Yeah, this is great.
It's lacrosse heaven. Garno. He went high that time.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Because I've watched him play. Garno's a big-time golfer, too. He's the best golfer on the team.
Is he a scratch?
I don't know if he's a scratch. I think he is close. But he's got the hips and the torque. Heard he drives the ball a mile. And you watch him shoot, he's aggressive with his hips.
There is Griffin Schutz. Dodges like a bulldozer, finishes like a marksman. 4-3 Cavs.
And this is what he's exceptional at. For a young player, when he makes his move, Drew, oftentimes he's patient enough to get his hands free, and he loses angles, right? But you see his low angle shooting ability, and this year playing midfield, he's starting at attack. He's played up top more than ever in his career. He was an attackman in high school, playing behind, playing on goal line extended. But because of the experience playing up top now, you can move him around. And Lars Tiffany loves the 2-quarterback system with Matt Moore and Connor Schellenberger. One guy being up top, one guy being up low, right? So you got a guy like Schellenberger's behind. Schutz is replacing Moore. He's comfortable being up top because of the midfield experience this year.
Yeah, it pays dividends when you get to April. 3-1 Virginia in this second quarter.
I always say, as an attackman, if you could dodge up top too, you take your close defender, a guy who's accustomed to playing behind and on goal line extended, you take him up top in space, he's not as comfortable. He's in uncharted territory. A lot of these guys are accustomed to playing behind the goal.
This is Antonio DeMarco, the true freshman. Lance Tillman. Coach Breschi said he scored 16 goals on one day in practice the other day. They've only got 1 goal in the last 15 minutes, and the shot clock dwindles. Jacob Kelly's shot is high, backed up by DeMarco and Carolina with 9 to shoot.
DeMarco from the Philly area, coached by Joey Sankey, Carolina great, one of the top scorers in Carolina history.
They got to go, and the bouncer is saved by Nunes. Ryan O'Connell's shot is saved.
That's been like the first easy save we've seen either of these goalies make, right?
That's the 7th save for Nunes. The first 6, those are A+ saves.
Cornell Cuse up in the Dome Monday night.
There'll be a lot of juice in the Loud House for that one.
Oh, talk about a must-win for both teams, too, because Cornell's going, you know, through the meat of their schedule, too, and then you have all these Ivy teams that you're trying to knock off in a later date with Princeton, which could be critical in terms of Ivy League seeding, but more importantly, too, NCAA Tournament at large bid. So you got to win that game if you're Cornell. And if Cuse, they got 4 games left.
Schellenberger got his hands free. That was off the pipe. That stays with UVA. I mean, Kark, we were talking about it. You love Notre Dame, right? I mean, their record isn't as impressive as it has been in the past, but when you're in the ACC, I mean, the schedule is a monster. Any one of these teams can emerge like Carolina did in 2016 and go deep.
And at a conference, Notre Dame's playing teams like Georgetown and Maryland, the top 2 teams in the country, right? They played them both tight.
Shot and a goal. Peyton Cormier has his 2nd tally today, and the Who's have a 2-goal lead.
He's so good off the ball. And his rules in terms of feeding him are a little bit different. Like when he might be covered, you still throw it to Peyton Cormier because he catches everything, right? On the high crease right there, he can lull the defense to sleep, right? In terms of where that pass is coming. And when you jam it to him, he catches everything. And I think one of the most underrated pieces of his game is his range. Everyone thinks of him as like an in-tight finisher. He can stretch it. That's a high crease rip right there by Cormier.
I feel like the rep on Canadian players is they want to operate right around the crease, but Cormier can do it from anywhere. Petey LaSalla, again, a guy who was in a sling earlier this week, wins another face-off, hits the deck, and keeps it for UVA. Cormier, by the way, now has multiple goals in 9 of UVA's 10 games this year. Scored 5 Saturday in that loss to Richmond, a game high. Evan Zinn already with a goal, the grad student out of Westport, Connecticut, and Hopkins transfer. Will Corey from right here in Charlottesville out of Episcopal High School, number 14 in white with it. Alex Breschi's all over him. Corey on the roll, and the shot saved by Krieg. Corey swiped at it. It's scooped up by Carolina and Blake Gable, and the Heels will go the other way. Or not. Give it right back, and UVA's got it.
It's a costly turnover.
With a minute to play in this first half, UVA leads by 2, 8 turnovers for the Heels. Best team in the ACC in protecting the rock. They only turn it over under 15 times a game.
Now we're in the thick of conference play, and I always say when you schedule big-time competition outside of conference, like Notre Dame did, right? When you play Georgetown and Maryland, when conference time comes around, you're battle-tested, right? So Notre Dame gets a win against Duke today. They're 4-4 now. That's the best 4-4 team in college lacrosse. Who wants to play those guys? You know, on the contrary, too, you have teams like Michigan out of conference. They start 7-0 with a weaker schedule. Now they're in conference play 7-5. Cormier again.
Before you can even blink, it's a hat trick for the junior out of Ontario, and a 3-goal lead for the Who's.
No Matt Moore. We need a little bit more from 24 in white. Some of the midfielders, the unknowns, stepping up. This is a team that's loaded with talent and superstars. And when you have a conductor in Connor Schellenberger who just feeds the ball at an elite level, and I mentioned earlier, right? He knows when Cormier is coming off the pick. He's got the sixth sense in terms of passer to finisher. That relationship is built on trust. It's built on trust because of the fact that they don't let each other down, right? Like if you're Cormier, you got to catch those passes from Schellenberger. They're going to come in quick. They're going to come in hot. And if you're Schellenberger, you got to know when Cormier's coming off those picks, and the timing of it's critical.
Timeout, Lars Tiffany in Virginia. Well, Kark, you mentioned the Notre Dame win over Duke today. And again, go back to 2016. This Carolina team was outside the NCAA tournament field. They pick up a win over the #1 team in America, make it, they end up winning the championship. I mean, that's what Notre Dame is trying to do. Our big story in the ACC right now as we check out our ACC news and notes.
You look at Syracuse's loss, I mentioned earlier, they're 4-6 now with 4 games left against big-time competition. They have Cornell in the Dome and then 3 ACC matchups. They have to win them all to go to the playoffs, right? So it's single elimination right now for Syracuse. Notre Dame, Kavanaugh. That's Pat Kavanaugh, plays with Chris Kavanaugh. But the big story to me now is Jake Taylor. He had the 8 goals against Syracuse a week ago. He's now that crease inside finisher. He gives them that presence. Now Kavanaugh has more room to operate, and he becomes the elite passer that we know he's capable of being. I mean, last year he had the most assists in a season in Notre Dame lacrosse history. You give him that inside guy, you give him that Peyton Cormier type of finisher. This offense is scary.
Where did he come from? With 8 goals, a Notre Dame record.
He had 2020 was his freshman year, the COVID year. Last year he had a knee injury, just getting back healthy. I saw him play in high school, and he was the elite finisher. Crazy behind the back type shots around the worlds. His hands are unreal. He's finally getting healthy at the right time.
Connor Marr took that last shot for Carolina in the last gasp of the first half. UVA outscores UNC 5-1 in the second quarter. And the Who's take a 2-goal lead to the break at Kastner Stadium. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up at halftime. Don't go anywhere. Who's going to win the Tewaaraton Award? We got the top 5 guys. That is next. Halftime in Charlottesville. Welcome back to Kastner Stadium in Charlottesville, where Virginia doubling up Carolina 6-3 after they outscored the Heels 5-1 in the second quarter. We welcome you back to a chilly, brisk Saturday at Kastner Stadium. I'm Drew Carter alongside Paul Carcaterra. And Carca was back and forth in that first quarter. Both goalies really standing on their heads in the opening quarter, then UVA kind of picked it up.
I think Virginia figured out where to find the seams in the inside of the Carolina defense, and Peyton Cormier has 3 goals as a result. You know, Virginia is so complicated in terms of game planning because of their versatility. But the 2 goalies have been amazing, right? It started with Nunes, the freshman out of Houston, and then Krieg, the sophomore, played so much ACC lacrosse. Chris Gray got it going. The deal with Gray is they're using him off of picks, right, to get his hands free. Cormier in the inside game. The common theme and thread here is the one-on-one dodging opportunities because of the defense and because of the goalies playing their angles. They have to use the inside game, they have to use the pick game in terms of the shooters finding their groove, because those typical dodges when you're staring down the goalie without the ball movement's not going to fly today. These guys are that elite in terms of stopping the ball.
You see the saves there. Krieg with 7, Nunes with 8. These guys are young, but they play like wily veterans. And a big story, too, is Petey LaSalla came in banged up, the faceoff specialist for Virginia. Zach Tucci got injured in the first quarter. We haven't seen him since. We saw him limping around on the sideline, getting checked out by the trainers, trying to get back in this game. It's been all Andrew Tyre at the X, number 3 in Carolina blue, and there is LaSalla, who's gutting it out today.
Yeah, and Tyre is a Virginia boy. In terms of where he grew up, was an elite athlete out of the state. And that's the luxury that Carolina has with Tyre and Tucci, they're not just face-off guys either. They're elite athletes. Like Tyre is a big-time athlete. And he's playing up against a nicked-up LaSalla. There's Tucci right there. You see his left foot wrapped.
Petey LaSalla wins the face-off for Virginia. He's got a few goals this year. This time he gives it up. He'll swarm the ball.
You know, you mentioned the goals, but if I'm Lars Tiffany, I'm telling Petey, like, if you win a face-off, I know you're typically in our offensive game and you like to find numbers. You're coming off today. We're not going to risk we're not going to risk anything else.
You try telling that guy he's not going to go to the goal. He's got 5 goals this year, and he is talking with Lars Tiffany right now. Frankly, Kark, I'm pretty stunned to see him after he left that Richmond game.
I didn't think he'd play. I did not think he'd play, especially being in a sling and being limited all week.
He's a warrior. And there's a shot from Peter Garneau, who has not been shy pulling the trigger today.
No, and you look at his numbers too. This year he's struggling to find the back of the net, Garneau. But he's the type of guy, like, if he gets going, you know, he only has 4 goals this season. He's a big-time shooter. If he gets going and starts feeling his groove, that's another option offensively for Virginia. They're like a midfielder or 2 away from clicking at the rate they did last year when they won a championship.
That was his 6th shot today, still trying to find the cage for the first time. UVA is missing Matt Moore, left that Richmond game over the weekend with an injury in the second quarter. He's out today. Schellenberger on the roll. Good recovery from Carolina. Schutz maintains possession. Ten to shoot for UVA. In front, Cormier's denied by Krieg. Peyton Cormier had a first-half hat trick. Sweeps it back toward Dixon, and it's scooped up by Carolina. Paul Barton, 24, who had it. Here comes Alex Breschi, 88.
Yeah, Barton's a nice-looking athlete. He actually played high school lacrosse in the San Francisco area for Chris Rotelli, who in 2003, when they won a national title, was a Tuorton winner as well. I'm sure Rotelli would have liked to see Barton playing in Virginia orange and blue, but Coach Breschi did an incredible job recruiting him.
Paul Barton's dad, Harris, won a Super Bowl with the 49ers.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
Some athletes in the family. His sister Anna plays on the women's team at Carolina. Good save by Cole Herbert, keeping it here with Carolina. Here's Nikki Solomon, who's been quiet today.
Yeah, Solomon and Kelly normally are like the 2 wing guys for Gray. Haven't really been involved with the offense. Big time compliments to Gray too, because Solomon the righty, Kelly the lefty, balance this offense out.
Here is Solomon trying to get involved. Gray gives it back to him with 5 to shoot. Solomon's got to go. Feed in front, great defense. It's Kastner again. That stick is everywhere.
He's got the wingspan of a condor. It's ridiculous how he closes in on guys. You know, for my money, he's a top 3 defender. Should make him a first-team All-American. I like Will Bowen from Georgetown. Arden Cohn from Notre Dame. Probably the 3 best that I've seen this season. Look at that. And he does
Precision.
so many other things too, like in the ride game. He's all over the place. He's the free safety in the ride. He's their #1 defender. Takes every team's top guy. And with this Virginia schedule, he hasn't had a bad game. And no one's had the best in him. You know, Gray can get his numbers today because Gray is exceptional off the ball. Like, of all the superstar attackmen in the country, I think Chris Gray, for a quarterback, is the best off-ball guy, too. So he'll get his points.
It's a great point, too, about how he can ignite the ride. That's what Carolina's missing without Matt Wright.
Yes, Matt Wright is a pit bull, and he has a motor like no other, right? Like, he's a high-octane type guy. In the middle of the field, he's going to hunt you down. And they're missing him big time. Quite frankly, they just don't have the guy to replace Matt Wright.
UVA turned it over. It's their first turnover since the first quarter. You see UNC sitting on those 3 goals, only 6 last time out against Duke Saturday. This is the guy who's going to have to stir the drink, Chris Gray, and We talked with Joe Breschi. He said Richmond scored 17 against UVA. I'd kill for 17 goals right now.
Of course you would, especially when you have 3. I think they need to go more to the pick game, too, with Gray. Like in the first quarter, we saw Gray coming off of picks. It was very successful.
Heels haven't scored in 13 minutes. Nunes is a brick wall between the pipes. He denied Anthony DeMarco that time.
The top hand speed of Nunes and Krieg, it's just next level.
When you say top hand speed, what does that mean?
Their top hand and how they can actually use like their hand as like, almost like a windshield wiper, depending if it's you know your right side if you're Nunes to your strong side, or across your face lefty. Like he gets there as quick as anyone, right? It's the top hand speed of a goalie is critical, especially when you're as patient as these guys. These guys aren't guessers. They're not floppers. So they rely on their patience, their angles, and their top hand speed.
Nunes has 9 saves today, only 3 Carolina goals.
And Nunes has the luxury of playing for Kip Turner, who was a national champion goalie at Virginia in 2006. He was the starting goalie. He's the assistant coach and works with the goalies. I mean, that's about as good of a goalie coach as you're going to get in college lacrosse.
The sidewinder shot, Krieg all over it with the foot. Denied Jeff Connor. That's Krieg's 8th save. Carolina trying to start it in transition, and Nunes with the interception. On the fast break, UVA, here they come. Schellenberger, patient. Krieg denies him. There was a collision for Carolina. Blake Gable, number 90 in Carolina blue, looks to be a little banged up.
You know, we're talking about Nunes and the top hand speed. This is exactly it. Look, Colin Krieg's a lefty goalie. Where did they shoot? To his opposite side, right? His top hand goes across his face. The reaction and speed of that is ridiculous.
And you saw Gable go head first into his teammate. And everyone's staying out there, including 9-0 in Carolina blue. Here's Xander Dixon, 6'1", 160, the Slim Reaper. I saw a tweet from Deemer Class, the Duke grade. He said, people don't talk enough about his big bro, David Dixon. He's a great player at Bucknell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was an elite attackman.
Marshall Dixon, too, at Bucknell.
Bucknell, in 2011, when Virginia won it, should have beaten Virginia in the first round here. Bucknell had him against the ropes. They were up 2 goals with like 2 minutes left and lost. Matt White scored the game winner. Virginia goes on to win a national championship. That was Bucknell's opportunity.
They're good again this year.
Yeah, the Patriot
Connor
League.
Davis.
Yeah,
there's underhand shot is buried. Jeff Connor joins the party. It's a 5-0 UVA run going back to the first half.
The one thing that's impressed me with Jeff Connor today, his feeding ability behind the cage. This time he takes the rock himself, stings it. The Who's are rolling.
Your happiness in San Diego.
After 165 years with just one hospital, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia now has a second. For you. For you. And for you. World-class pediatric specialists. 24/7 pediatric emergency department. Spacious rooms. Oh, and it's easy to get to, with plenty of parking. Our new hospital in King of Prussia, now open for you.
Welcome back to Old Spice College Lacrosse, part of the ACC on ESPN. We've got a good one today. Virginia hosting Carolina. UVA honored a couple of national championship teams today, and all season they've been honoring Punch Peterson with a punch emoji on the back of their helmet. A great player here in the early 60s, passed away in August. First team All-American in 1961. He said he wore a pacemaker due to a heart condition. Went to a Syracuse UVA game in 2021, claimed that his heart stopped for 15 seconds watching that game. And there is his brother, Dick Peterson, in the house today. Pretty good player himself, too, an All-American for UVA. Punch's daughter, Clay, is also here at Kastner Stadium today. Cool to see UVA honor a legend like that.
It is, and that's what makes these programs special, too. It's the history of the program and some of the program's all-time greats. Like, they become part of the fabric for years after their playing days, right? Lacrosse is a fraternity-based sport where, you know, if you're a Virginia Cavalier as a player, for the next 50 years, Punch was roaming the grounds and rooting for the Cavaliers. It's amazing. So many of the programs have those type of alum that stay part of the program, too.
Crunch time here for Carolina, down 4. They have not been able to break the seal of this UVA defense. How can they generate some offense, Kark?
I think they need to go back to that pick game. You know, in the first quarter, they were generating shots, and Gray's the type of guy, like, if you set a pick for him, he can get a shot. Like, he can rip a jump shot, like, right off a pick. Doesn't need a ton of room. He's the kind of guy, like, if you watch Steph Curry from range, sometimes, like, doesn't have to beat his guy, even when he's being defended.
Schertzinger. That one is saved by Nunes. Stays here with Carolina.
Like, you think you have good defense on him, right? And all he needs is just a fraction of a second in terms of the space to free up that shot. And he's equally effective righty or lefty. So I'd like to see Gray off the pick, because the one-on-one play in space against Kastner, that's a tough ask.
Harrison Schertzinger, 5 in Carolina blue. Aggressive here on this possession. It's a fun matchup to watch, Gray versus Kastner. 5'7" Gray against 6'7" Kastner. The slide comes again. Nicky Solomon. Again, haven't heard much from him. Solomon, that's a good feed. Tillman, or Herbert, had it knocked away. No shot clock reset, never made it to Nunes, so 15 to shoot. This is Tillman, number 0. He's got space. Nunes with another save. This guy is standing on his head. The shot clock didn't reset, but it didn't matter. Now it does as Virginia takes possession.
Against both of these goalies, when you're coming around goal line extended to try to sneak it in high, you saw Xander Dixon not successful against Colin Krieg. This time, Lance Tillman against Matt Nunes. It's really hard to get those kind of low angle shots past goalies who are playing their pipe, they're holding their ground. The only way Tillman's gonna get that one is if he takes one more step upfield and if he shoots low. I thought Tillman had another step in him.
Evan Zinn scored in the first half. This one is backed up. A shout out to Grayson Saladay, the captain, who knocked away that shot from Tillman on the other side.
Credit Evan Egan, too, playing Connor Schellenberger. He's doing a nice job. And Egan has been out of the lineup with injury. Hasn't seen a lot of reps, 22 in blue.
It's a pretty good way to come back, matching up with 1.
Yeah, and that was Matt Wright's matchup prior. And Matt Wright was the guy, like the glue guy, right? Like every team has a guy they can rely on defensively. Kastner is the guy for Virginia. Matt Wright was for North Carolina. Like Brett Makar from Maryland is a mainstay, not just a lockdown defender. When you watch Makar, he's one of the best defenders in college lacrosse. I mentioned the 3 guys who are front runners for first team All-American. He's right in there in that mix because they ask him to do so much outside of just defending, right? We see that with Cole Kastner. They ask him to do other things other than just defend. Plays in the ride game. And when you take a guy like Matt Wright out of the mix, that's a big, big hole to fill.
Yeah, Cole Kastner has a goal this year.
He's got a goal, but like he's not just your number one, right? Like in a lot of times when you have a defender like Kastner, what makes him special is, okay, he's a number one defender, but he also adds so much to the ride game.
Matched up with Gray. How did he get that one to go? It's a hat trick for Chris Gray. He has contributed to all 4 Carolina goals, and it's their first goal since the 7:57 mark of the second quarter.
All 3 of his goals today, Drew, are lefty, right? So they start him off the pick. And although like his separation right off the shot isn't the pick gave him a little bit of momentum, right? It allowed him to get to full speed and Kastner have to adjust, right? So he starts with that pick behind the cage. He's at full speed. Kastner never has an opportunity to catch up to Chris Gray as he's 14 points away from the magnificent Lyle Thompson. The jump shots too, like if you
called him Steph Curry earlier.
Yeah. I mean, if you look through the videotape of the years in college lacrosse, Chris Gray's first 2 years at BU, the last 3 because of COVID in 2020. Yeah,
this is big. That's Andrew Tyre who grabbed his leg. We got a flag on the field. Remember, Zach Tucci, the starting faceoff guy for Carolina, injured earlier. We haven't seen him since. Tyre grabs his ankle, and we'll check on the penalty.
4-3, trip, 1 minute. 4-3 white trip, 1 minute.
It's a trip against Virginia. I think it's on Mitchell Whalen, 43, but this is a big story, Kark.
Yeah, this is huge. He's hurting right now.
Oh, yeah. See that left ankle?
Yeah, he's holding the ankle right away. Oh,
he twisted it.
This is big.
Yeah.
What Carolina's like depth in terms of strength was coming into the game in this matchup was like, all right, we have 2 guys against a nicked up Petey LaSalla, right? Now we have neither of our guys. Tucci and Tyre. The third guy is Chase Mullins. Now, Chase Mullins is an Under Armour All-American, was the top-rated face-off guy in the country a year ago, but just hasn't seen the reps, you know? Like, it's a different game. You remember I mentioned Matt Nunes in terms of the adjustment from high school to college? It's like that at the face-off game, too. The face-off game, you're playing against full-grown men.
Petey LaSalla, 5'7",
yes.
185, squatting 600 pounds. Carolina to the man up. They just scored their first goal in 20 minutes of game time to snap a 5-0 UVA run. Herbert. Time and room. And the shot is high from Henry Schertzinger. Backed up with 38 on the man up. Chris Gray to trigger it. He's already got a hat trick today, plus an assist. Gray thought about it. Feed down low, couldn't hook up with his man.
You got to be ready for that. I think that was a good pass. I think Solomon should have caught that. You know, when you play with some of the game's greats, you have to expect to get the ball in a fraction of a second. When I was in college playing with Casey Powell, he would throw passes. I remember when he first got to campus his freshman year, he was so good at passing off of like a quick move. He was hitting guys in the helmet. You gotta be ready. And you're playing with a guy like Gray who can shoot from the perimeter. When the defense shifts up like that, like he's gonna get you the rock.
UVA turned it over. Carolina with a few seconds left on the man up. Did Casey Powell ever hit you in the helmet?
Of course.
That's how you ended up like this, right?
Yeah, exactly. and then I would say my bad. I mean, he was ridiculous. I think he's the only offensive player to be a first-team All-American as an attackman and a midi, but Connor Schellenberger is going to change that. How crazy is that, right?
Good call. Yeah.
Because Schellenberger was a first-team All-American last year as a midfielder. Casey was his sophomore year. junior, senior year at attack.
Schellenberger's going to put up some stupid numbers in his college career.
Ridiculous.
What'd you set the over-under at earlier? 340?
340. I think the record here at Virginia is in the 260s.
It'll be smashed. It's 269 for Stanwyck. And, hey, Broad has to watch out because Nunes is going to be hot on his heels.
Nunes is just what the doctor ordered, right? You lose a legendary big game May goalie in Alex Rode, and what do you get as a gift? This guy.
It's 11 saves for Nunes, only 4 Carolina goals.
These guys, both of them, though, they don't get beat by bad shots. Like, how many times do you say when you watch Colin Krieg or Nunes play, he should have had that one? Not a lot.
I don't think a single time today we've said that. UVA can hold for the last shot, 20 seconds here in this third quarter. Here's Schellenberger with a runway. Ten seconds left. Pass is batted down. Tyler Schwartz, 43, came away with it for Carolina. And that'll end the third quarter. Great defense from Tyler Schwartz, the true freshman from Long Island. It's a 3-goal Hoos lead. 7-4. Chris Gray's basically single-handedly keeping Carolina in this game. 3 goals as we take you to the fourth quarter after this.
In the wilderness, fearless and human. Sauvage, the new elixir, Dior.
I want the world.
I want the whole world. I want to lock it all up in my pocket.
I want today.
I want tomorrow. Presents and prizes and sweets and surprises
Of all shapes and sizes.
I want it now.
T-Mobile for Business has 5G that's ready right now.
Welcome back to Old Spice College Lacrosse. And welcome back to a brisk day at Kastner Stadium. 3-goal lead for Virginia hosting North Carolina for first time this year. It's the 5th meeting in the last 2 seasons. The sun has been in and out. Still a good day to watch some lacrosse on the hill here at Kastner Stadium.
How tough are Faceoff guys? Petey LaSalla was in a sling this week. Zach Tucci couldn't walk 10 minutes ago. He hobbles onto the field right now. You have 2 wounded guys getting after it, emptying the tank for their team. And there's Andrew Tyre, who's nicked up as well, and he looks like he wants to get back in. But look at this battle right here. Faceoffs are tied up at 7. 2 guys that barely could go today.
Look at 7 in Carolina Blue. Zach Tucci can barely run right now. He's hobbling to try to get off the field. Basically have Willis Reed wearing number 7 for the Tar Heels today.
They have that mentality, almost like wrestlers, right? Like they're on an island, they're tough as nails. There's so much pressure on a face-off guy in college lacrosse.
We've had a pretty low-scoring game today. For these 2 programs, at least, the goalies have been tremendous. 11 saves for Matt Nunes, the freshman for UVA, 9 for the sophomore Colin Krieg for Carolina. Jeff Connor's got a goal today, number 4 in white. Cavs playing without Matt Moore, who's on pace to be their all-time leading scorer, out with a lower body injury today. Here's Griffin Schutz. Schellenberger, the QB, eyes up always. Stays off the crease, draws the slide with 5 to shoot. Feeds Xander Dixon, they gotta go. It'll be a shot clock violation against UVA.
I think Carolina has played some good D. Obviously, Colin Krieg has bailed them out a few times. There's a look at Matt Moore. If he gets back in time. 269, is that the number?
Yep.
Steele Stanwick
Steele
had?
Stanwick, 269.
He's smiling. Great teammate. Was a big-time recruit coming out of the Philly area, playing for the legend Frank Urso, Maryland, 4-time first-team All-American.
Look at Colin Krieg.
Whoa.
Trying to get his Blaze Reardon on. He got rocked. And it was a timeout, North Carolina.
He got hammered. He's right back up, though. That kid. We talk about Tucci and LaSalla, tough as nails. You want the guys out on an island. You want your tough guys answering the bell. That guy right there always does.
PTI, I need the PDF, COB, AKA EOD. What's the ETA?
ASAP, FYI.
See my IM?
TLDR.
What?
Too long, didn't read.
We don't need any more acronyms, but we could all use more ways to save.
DMX, YOLO!
Old Spice College Lacrosse is brought to you by Old Spice. Smell ready for anything.
Special day here at Kastner Stadium, honoring the 1972 National Championship team. 50 years ago, they won Virginia's first NCAA National Championship. They had won a couple before the NCAA started sponsoring it. 50 years ago, these guys made history for UVA. Honored today, Doug Terring, a member of that 1972 team, calling the games on the radio nowadays.
Yeah, we talked about Punch always being a mainstay at Kastner. Well, Doug Terring is as well, calling the game on radio, but just always here, right? You always love to see Doug. He always has a smile, always loves to talk shop. The hairstyle's a little different, right, from 1972 to now?
Listen, man, vintage is the way to go. It's always in. Just ask Alex Breschi. Chris Gray, what a feed inside. Again, his teammate couldn't handle it. That was Jacob Kelly, 9, right on the crease. And it's UVA ball. Cade Sawstad, the captain, number 11, is all over it.
We're going to have to see kind of a juice goal, I think, for Carolina to get back in this. Like something off of a ride, a transition, a Krieg stop into a fast break, a pole goal. They need some kind of a juice goal to get back in this, I feel. Sun's out. How
Finally.
good does this feel? Yeah, this is my 3rd game in Charlottesville this season, and every single one of them has been freezing. It's the first time it's like actually comfortable, right?
Right.
But you see the setting, right? Like
it's the best.
All the fans on the berm.
The baseball field is right over our shoulder. This is just a beautiful area. Schellenberger turns and hits. First goal for number 1. By his standards, it's been a quiet day. Schellenberger makes it a 4-goal lead.
I was on the field pregame while he was warming up. He was on the field just with Jeff Connor well before warm-ups, and I talked to him. One thing that people don't realize is how strong he is. Like, he is a weight room warrior. We talk about LaSalla getting after it in the weight room. This is pure strength. We talk about Connor Schellenberger's footwork. We talk about his skill, but that is just a strength dodge. Like, he ripped through the defense right there. On goal line extended. A lot of times you see him roll back. This time it was pure power.
First goal in 10 minutes for UVA, and Schellenberger's first of the day. Carolina loses it. Look out, a chance for UVA. There is Schellenberger. Taken right back by the Tar Heels. Sean Morris with it now.
These injuries too to these face-off guys. Tyre right now is trying to walk up and down He's hobbled. Obviously, Zach Tucci. Saw Graham Schwartz in there. Freshman face-off guy getting that last rep.
There is Tucci, number 7. Got injured in the first quarter. Laboring, trying his best. Andrew Tyre also with his gloves off on the sideline.
You know, it hurts the heels here. This is the one opportunity that you think you could get the best of Virginia at the face-off game because of LaSalla's health, right?
It's amazing how the tables have turned.
Statistically, neither team running away from it, but just with the health of LaSalla, you thought this could have been a good advantage for the Tar Heels, and no such luck.
Yeah, they're level, 8 wins apiece at the X. It's a pretty special defensive performance for UVA. 4 goals for Carolina. They only had 6 last Saturday against Duke, their lowest total since 2018. UVA might do them one better.
Yeah, they're averaging around 13 a game. Big answer, too, for Virginia, because if you watch the Richmond tape, Richmond lit them up off ball, too. Richmond had a lot of assisted goals. So they beat Virginia in the 6-on-6 team defensive game, if that makes sense. And it's been the opposite today, right? Like Gray's goals are unassisted.
There's that ride for UVA. Peyton Cormier, 24 with it. Had it long enough for Lars Tiffany to call timeout. You see Coach Tiffany wearing that 50th anniversary shirt in honor of 1972's national championship team. And we mentioned it, Kark. I mean, someone called Joe Lenardi because it's bracketology season. UNC needs wins at this point.
They do. You know, in the last bracketology that I saw, a lot of people are on board with, you know, Inside Lacrosse had a bracketology with 2 ACC teams out there. I think there's going to be 3. At the end of the day, when the dust settles, I think a 3rd team will emerge. It could be Notre Dame. But you see the breakdown at 7-3. And they have the wins against like a Richmond now. That's a bigger win for them. The Richmond win is big. You want Brown to do well in the Ivies because you beat Brown.
They had a big win today, right, Brown?
Yeah, maybe if you want Denver to go on a run. So a lot of it is, obviously, you got to find wins. You got to find wins, but you also have to root for certain teams for your RPI, if that makes sense.
And the RPI is a bit of a mystery. Princeton's number 1 in RPI still over Maryland. You see the ACC odds right here. I mean, Kark, I'm with you. To say that 2 ACC teams are going to make it alone, it's probably not going to happen. I mean, Notre Dame goes on a run here.
On that. Quint and I don't see eye to eye on that one. I see 3. You know, I think that Notre Dame is just trending in a different direction right now. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's Virginia obviously is going to get in there. And I think Notre Dame has a run in them. And I think it will come down to Duke and North Carolina at the end of the day. And they still play each other again, too. So that's going to be a monster game.
And, Kark, we got to talk to the people at Lacrosse Reference because Syracuse, 0% chance. I know it's all based on numbers.
Total Blutarski? You're too young for that. Do you even know who Blutarski is?
Zero idea who that is. Blutarski?
Yeah, Animal House.
Oh, 0.0.
Mr. Blutarski. I could be that. I'm that old.
I have seen that clip on YouTube. I mean, that's my thing, is I watch enough clips to understand. It takes me a second. Schellenberger. Draws the slide. What a feed. Shuts his shot just high.
That's next level, right? You get doubled. You're harassed, right? You feel that physical pressure, but he still finds the backside. Like, he knows where the pressure's coming from, right? He doesn't have to, like, spend an extra second or 2. It's like in the same motion of him getting hounded, he knows where the pressure is. I think Connor's had a good game, too. You won't see it statistically. You saw the goal, but, like, he's really, I think, done a nice job taking some quarterbacking responsibilities from behind the cage. He's had a real good day feeding the ball. Not all the the Cavalier offensive players are converting on his feet, but he's finding seams. There is another one right there. Like, he knows how to get it to the inside, 4 and white.
He set up Xander Dixon for the sidewinder shot that puts the shot clock back at 60. And we should mention that Lars Tiffany told us Matt Moore will be back at some point. You will see Matt Moore again this year.
You know, in long term, you obviously want your superstar in every game, right? A guy like Matt Moore. He's one of the all-time greats at Virginia. It's a heck of a check right there.
Tyler Schwartz, 43, the freshman. Schutz picks it back up. Freshman on freshman. And 2-6 gets the better of this one. Schutz has his second goal this afternoon.
Drew, I want you to think back earlier in this game. Xander Dixon around goal line extended. Had no angle, he shot high, right? Lance Tillman around goal line extended. Had no angle really, shot high. Griffin Schutz right now places that ball perfectly, right? If he shot high there, no dice, because Colin Krieg had the pipe. He was occupying the top portion of the goal. That's incredible awareness with Griffin Schutz. You know, we talk about his brute force, but this guy knows the game. What did you say he was earlier? I like that.
He dodges like a bulldozer, finishes like a marksman.
There you go.
It's Lars Tiffany's words, not mine.
Well, you said it. Lars thought of it. It's spot on. And that goal, I think, to me, kind of just encompasses all of that, right?
He started on attack today. He's been playing midfield for most of the season. I mean, can you give us an idea of how hard that is, Cart, going from midfield to attack and vice versa?
I think it's becoming less and less, because I feel like the game's becoming offensively with the 6 guys out there. A lot of these offensive coordinators are smart enough to make it like positionless, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. You're not seeing the old school midfielders alley dodge, you know, go down the alley, start with the left hand, sweep righty. Like those types of players now aren't as frequent as they were in the past because of the way these offenses play and the way they're schemed out. There's Connor. He looks like he's nicked up now.
He got hit hard, and this is, I believe, a penalty against Carolina. No penalty against UNC. I'll update you on Schellenberger.
They're checking his left shoulder right now.
And that was Evan Egan, 22, who's back for Carolina. He's done a pretty good job on Schellenberger today.
He has.
In front, Cormier rings it off the pipe.
See who gave that feed? 4 and white again. I'm telling you, he could have had 5 assists in this game. They're not finishing his shots, but he showed me like he's another guy along with Moore, Schellenberger, and Xander Dixon that feel comfortable behind the cage. You have 4 options behind the cage there.
Sean Kerwin has an embarrassment of riches with this program. It's go time for Carolina. Tillman had it knocked away. Virginia's just rock solid defensively. Gray's been a one-man show. 3 goals and an assist on the other one. Might have another. The shot is high from Nicky Solomon.
That's a beautiful pass. It's a beautiful pass. A lot like Schellenberger's on the other side. Roll away from pressure, the same motion. Find your man.
Gray around the screen. Good setup, and Nunes with the denial. Lance Tillman was right on the doorstep. It's 12 saves for the freshman.
Gotta shoot low there, or you gotta at least get the goalie to bite one way with a fake.
Chris Gray should have like 5 assists.
Yeah. Schellenberger's back by the box. That's a good sign. He's up by the substitution box. He's coming back on the field, so Cavalier fans can breathe a sigh of relief. Why do you think
that's one of the biggest cheers we've heard all day?
That's normally like when a goalie comes out of a game on a huge performance. Like, he's back. He's back.
It's like when Cody Rhodes came back to WWE the other night. Here's Jeff Connor. You're right, Kark. He's been really impressive operating at X. Here he goes again. Connor with the setup. Cormier with the backhand score. 4 goals for Peyton Cormier today. It is all Who's in the 4th quarter.
Jeff Connor came into today's contest with only 5 assists. He could have 5 assists today if people were finishing. But this time he knows who can seal the deal. 24 in white has ice in his veins, right? Like he's an instinctual inside finisher. Like a lot of unconventional stuff. Like that was a corky shot, right? He caught it across his body and just shoveled it in. But that's what great finishers do. They just find a way to get in the back of the net. But I'm so impressed with Jeff Connor today. He to me, overall, you know, you have Cormier's 4 goals, but like in terms of the way this offense really developed today, he might have had the best performance. Like if you were to grade out and watch the film today, you'd be shocked at what his scores would be.
So if you were Jim Nance giving out your tie, like at the Final Four, your tie would go to Jeff Connor?
Yes, today, yep, indeed.
3 assists for Connor. Even that doesn't really tell the full story.
Yeah, he could have 6 easy. First guy on the field today in warm-ups was Schellenberger. Locked in.
Were you shooting around a little bit with them, Kark?
No.
You didn't bring your stick. Didn't fit in the check bag?
Yeah.
It is 3-0 UVA in this 4th quarter. 4 goals for Carolina.
Yeah, talk about answering the bell. They let up 17 a week ago. 17. And if you watch the way Richmond scored their goals, like they dissected.
Connor with another feed. Zinn with the rip, and the bouncer is wide.
The slides and the rotation of the Virginia defense last week were not in sync. They were not like flowing.
No reset on the clock. Dixon. High shot saved by Krieg. Here's Lance Tillman, number 0 in Carolina blue. Tillman had a couple goals against Duke, but he's been quiet today. Herbert is denied by Matthew Nunes.
So good.
They run out of ways to describe him.
Yeah.
It's 12 saves for Matt Nunes. Into the Woodlands High School with Grant Murphy, Syracuse defenseman. Now 13 saves for Nunes.
Wow. He's very mature. When I've been at practices, like his pre-practice routine with jumping rope and just the little drills he goes through, you couple that, what I mentioned earlier, with his goalie coach, Kip Turner. I mean, he has a goalie coach. They speak the same language. A lot of teams don't have the luxury of one of their full-time staff members being a goalie, right? So when you have that extension, right, that guy that just knows everything about the position, it's huge.
Becoming a pipeline for UVA with Alex Rode, who was one of the best goalies in the country for 4 years. 2-time champ. Zinn, you bet! The freight train is off and running for UVA. 2 goals today for Evan Zinn.
Lars told us this week, we're not in a rush to get these guys off the field. It's because they're offensive players. Zinn is a speedster, but showing you time and room, he can let it fly. Great technique, too. Straight overhand to the bottom corner, offside on a lefty goalie. That is a sweet shot.
Bazinga.
grad student. He's got another year, too. He'll be back.
Carolina scored 1 goal in this second half. Some of these guys are grown men playing college lacrosse.
Yeah. Got out at the right time.
Carolina can't keep it in the offensive end, and it's UVA ball.
You know, I laugh about that, but, you know, when I graduated in '97, there was great athletes on the field. Don't get me wrong, but the speed and strength of these players now, just with just more understanding of nutrition. Like when I talk to these guys and I go to practices and I watch them lift, and these guys eat clean. Like I was a knucklehead. No,
you were at Varsity Pizza.
Yeah, I was eating pizza late night and ice cream. Like these guys are much more knowledgeable in terms of their bodies and the way they lift, the way they recover. Like you'll see these guys will spend time recovering after the game. Yeah, I was eating chicken wings and
they're not going to the alleyway.
Dipping them into blue cheese and then the locker room. And I'm not kidding. We had wings in the locker room. You think I'm joking? Ask anyone who played at Syracuse in the 90s. We'd have pizza and wings right after the game.
Was it from varsity?
I don't know where coach got it.
I hope so.
Probably. But that's how we recovered. These guys just, they're locked in. They understand their bodies. They know how to recover. In the training, it's a huge all year long commitment. You want to capture it in April and May.
Virginia did that today. They absolutely stymie Carolina, hold the Tar Heels to 4 goals, and Lars Tiffany's team bounces back from the loss to Richmond and moves to 8-2 this year. We're going to take a short break, come back and break it down, get some final thoughts from Kark as Virginia wins it 11-4. Don't go anywhere.
Happiness in San Diego.
When you drive a Honda, the adventures go on and on. Follow your adventures with the rugged power of Honda. The brand owners are calling the most fun to drive. Hurry into a local Honda dealer where new vehicles are arriving daily.
Virginia beats Carolina today at Kastner, and folks, that's not a typo. 4 goals for UNC. They had 6 last time out against Duke. It was their lowest since 2018. They only get 4 today against the Cavs. As we check out our Old Spice ready for anything, Matt Nunes was ready for anything.
They had opportunities, but they were dealing with a brick wall. The freshman from Houston, Texas, Matt Nunes, was incredible. His poise for a freshman, filling in for Alex Rode, who's won 2 national titles. No sweat, man. This guy has ice in his veins. He understands the position. He's won games for Virginia. You look earlier in the season, the High Point game, he came up with monster saves in the 4th quarter. Today, he was exceptional.
13 saves, only 4 goals allowed for the freshman out of Texas. He was the #1 incoming freshman goalie in the country, according to Inside Lacrosse, and you saw exactly why. UVA did this without Matt Moore today. They kind of pieced it together offensively.
They did, and if you look at what Cormier did inside, I thought that was a good sign too, because Moore is another quarterback with Schellenberger, so you were worried a little bit, like would Cormier get his inside looks, and guys like Jeff Connor and obviously Connor Schellenberger and crew were able to pick up the slack.
That'll do it for us from Charlottesville. For my partner Paul Carcaterra, our entire crew led by Ryan Fulham, I'm Drew Carter. We'll